Let's take you to Afghanistan, where freezing temperatures across the country have killed more than 120 people. And officials say this is the coldest winter in a decade. Several regions are cut off by snow and rescue teams are struggling to reach remote mountainous areas. Relief operations hampered as well by a Taliban edict banning women from working with aid agencies. The Taliban government continuing to crack down on the rights of women and girls. Let's take you straight to Yelda, who joins us now from Kabul. We can see, Yelda, just how cold it is behind you, but give us an idea of how people cope with these freezing temperatures.
Well, that's the thing, Lucy. They don't cope. As you say, over 100 people have died so far, but the real number is unclear because the Taliban disaster management minister has said that it's difficult to get to some of the most remote, hard-to-reach areas. They're virtually cut off from the rest of the world, so that number could be much higher. We're also hearing about livestock. Some 77,000 livestock are believed to have frozen, so that really is so much of people's livelihood also disappearing. Many of the people who have died are small children, believed to have died as a result of hypothermia. Here in the capital, Kabul, it's getting to as low as minus 21 degrees. In some of the other parts of the country, much worse. And of course, as you say, the restrictions that female aid workers are also facing. The UN Deputy Secretary General was here just a few days ago trying to speak to the Taliban authorities here to tell them that women, female aid workers need to go back to work because there's life-saving aid that at least 28 million Afghans are in desperate need of. There are other restrictions that Afghan women continue to face, especially around education. Girls over the age of 12 can't go to school. Women can't go to universities. I've been to one secret school which has emerged and popped up. Many have popped up, in fact. But there is one that I went to, and I spoke to the teacher and also the students who are currently attending. Have a look. A basement in Kabul, now a place of learning. This 21-year-old used to be a jeweler. She started this secret school 7 months ago, running classes for girls of all ages every day. Despite all the risk, I don't want students to forget what going to school means, she tells me. I want them to still feel they can learn, and they should learn. If the Taliban authorities find out this secret school is operating, they'll be in trouble. Usually, more than 30 teenage girls come here. Today, only 10. Schools closed for girls over the age of 12 when the Taliban first swept to power. In March last year, they were told they could come back to their classes, only to be sent back. The Taliban government says the ban is temporary.
When I travel here, I'm really frightened. The situation is really bad under Taliban rule, and we are banned from school. But I want to keep coming here for as long as our schools are closed.
The Taliban government says the ban is temporary. But a 15-year-old student says she doesn't understand why Afghan girls are being denied this basic right.
I find it so painful that they are not allowing us to our schools. This decision is against Islam. It's illegal. Why can boys learn and girls can't?
Winter in Afghanistan poses all sorts of challenges. Some days it gets as cold as minus 21 in Kabul. But still, the students and their teacher come. Seeing their passion gives me energy, their teacher tells me. They're full of hope, so I have no choice but to take this risk. It's unclear when these girls will return to their schools. Until then, women like their teacher are the only hope they have. Well, the international community continues to grapple with how to deal with the Taliban government here. On the one hand, there's a humanitarian crisis and disaster unfolding. On the other hand, the restrictions that women and girls continue to face in this country. Well, joining me now to discuss is the Swedish Migration Agency Director General Mikael Ribbenvik live from Oslo. Thank you very much, Mr. Ribbenvik, for joining us here on the program. I just want to give our audiences a sense of the shift in policy that Sweden has recently made and towards their migration policy. The statement is that the situation for girls and women is so difficult in Afghanistan that they risk persecution solely on the basis of gender and would be granted refugee status when they apply for asylum in Sweden. Can you tell us a little bit more about this?
Yes, what we've seen since the Taliban takeover is that there's been a deteriorating situation for girls and women. The promises that were made in the beginning they have not been fulfilled. And what we see now is that the discrimination is so severe against girls and women that it can constitute a danger to life and health.
So I just want to understand then, how does this policy work? Can women from this country apply? Do they have to be in a second or third country before they can apply for this?
No, it's as always, when it comes to asylum, you need to be on the territory before we can assess a case. So that's the same case here. So this only applies to people that manage to make the very difficult and expensive journey to Europe.
So at this stage, it doesn't apply to the Afghan women who are currently living here. They would have to migrate and leave this country.
Yeah, that's always the case with asylum. So we see that people are in danger in many places of the world, but it's a very, very far and dangerous journey to get to Europe. And also Sweden is the end of the line, sort of say. We're way up north, so you have to pass a lot of countries before you can come to Sweden. So according to international law, you can only apply for asylum when you are in that country's territory.
Sorry, so I just want to understand, if a woman from Afghanistan feels she doesn't want to live in this country anymore, and you've said that based on the situation here, Sweden will offer them migration, you're saying that they would have to figure out a way to get out of this country, get to Sweden, and then they would be granted refugee status?
Yeah, so it's not an offer. This is how we assess cases. What is the situation in Afghanistan? And also this is what most countries in Europe are doing. And even before this shift in the situation in Afghanistan, we had well over 90% approval rate for protection cases from Afghanistan for women and girls. And there are other countries in Europe that are even higher. There are some that are 99%. So this is not a new thing. It's just that it has deteriorated lately. And we see that no girl or woman could be sent back to Afghanistan. So that's why we're offering protection for those people, but we're not offering migration. So there's a difference there.
Understood. Mikael Ribbenvik from the Swedish Migration Agency, Director General of that. Thank you very much for joining us here on the programme.